Hi, my name is Dawn Rose, and I have been asked to share my story about how I came to Christ. And so when I was growing up, God was not in the picture. My parents didn't take us to church, really. My mom tried to a little bit here and there, but God was not a part of our story. So when I was about 22 years of age, I found myself in a very desperate place. I was married. Alcoholism was part of my life. I had two little boys, and I knew very, very, very little about what alcoholism was, but I lived in that for about 6 years. So before Christ, I was alone and afraid. I didn't have direction. I was empty and lost. I had no peace. It was a pretty hopeless situation that I lived in, so I was very desperate. I worked at the time. I had a friend come into the store where I was working, and she invited me to church. She could tell that I was alone, and so I went to church with her, and I think I accepted Christ before the invitation was even given. But Jesus found me. That's where he found me, in that state. I stayed in that marriage for about another year, and then I met my husband while I was divorcing. Then I met my husband, and I divorced and remarried all in the same year. And we started going to church together. He was saved also, but neither of us really understood much about God. And so he was my knight in shining armor, my husband. But he came in a broken down Mach 1. And so I didn't recognize him. I didn't recognize that he was such a good person, that he was such a loving man. And I adored him. I adored him because he adored my boys. I married him, and he's my second rescue. God was my first rescue. He was my second rescue. So we went on to have 3 more kids together. We have 5 kids, and we've had a full life. There's been a lot of ups and downs in between all of that. And God's been so good to me, so faithful. I'm not going to say there wasn't problems. There's been a lot of brokenness. I came out of that situation very broken. And not only did God love me, but he loved me. He loved me back to wholeness. And he loved me and my flaws too. And after that, we went to church, took our kids to church all the time. We were always in church. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, we were always in church. So our kids were raised in a going to church, I should say. I don't want to say a godly home, because we had a lot of problems. But I think after we were going to church for quite some time, God began to do a work in both of us, and we went to a different church, and we're in that church for quite some time. And some things fell apart for us there too. And after that, it seems like we wandered around for a long time trying to find a church home. And during that time, after church fell apart, it was like the rug got pulled out from underneath me. I lost my job, I lost my family. But God is good. God is so good, and he's so faithful. And I guess I can fast forward to a time when I'd been wandering. I mean, I just begun to do life my own way. I still had God in the picture. I still prayed. I still believed in Him. I still had a relationship with Him, but I didn't really understand grace like I understand grace today. And God met me there. And there were a group of women that I met with weekly for about probably 4 or 5 years. And it was another rescue that God did for me. Gave me some people that understood what I had gone through, what we had gone through, and just helped us through that time. And then COVID hit, and life changed again. And I'm happy about that. I know COVID has changed everything for everybody. It's changed a lot of stuff. But for me, God found me again, and I was wandering. And that's when we came to Renovation. And ever since that time, I have not been striving to please God like I have in my life and trying to do the right thing and going to church and praying and all that goes along with the Christian life. I finally understand that I can't live the Christian life on my own, that I have to let God transform me. I just cooperate. I didn't get that. And I'm so glad that He's not given up on me. He never gave up on me. I want to share with you the meaning of the word rescue, if I can find it. I looked it up because I really love that word. I love words. Rescue is a very strong word from the Hebrew. It paints a picture of an individual who is helpless and cannot deliver himself in a very oppressive situation. I cannot deliver myself. I'm so glad that Jesus has been my rescuer every time. He's good. He's been good to me. He's faithful, even in the hard times. And now I'm at a point in my life that it's a new season. Again, me and my husband are both retired, and since I've come to Renovation, a lot of healing has gone on for me. A lot of healing has gone on in that church, in this church. And I guess my story has a lot of brokenness in it, but I've learned that our message is in our mess, and life is messy, and people are messy, and that's what God taught me. That's what God has been teaching me all my life, that even in the brokenness, that He'll meet me. He meets me, and He loves me, and He gives me people to help heal me, and I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful He never gave up on me. I'm so grateful that my husband never gave up on me. There's hope. There's always hope. Even when you think that you can't go on. God is gentle and kind and wonderful. I don't know how people live their lives without Jesus. I just don't. I couldn't. But He's good, and I know He's up to good things in my life. I have a friend that tells me all the time, the best is yet to come. And it's God who picks up the broken pieces of my life and puts me back together. And I guess in a lot of ways, I know I'll never be totally put back together, and I don't want to be, because I have such a need, such a desperation for Christ. I do want to be consumed by Him. I want Him to be able to use me. I want Him to be able to use me. I have a psalm that has spoken to me over the last few weeks, and it's Psalm 30. It says, I will exalt you, Lord, for you rescued me. You refused to let my enemies triumph over me. O Lord, my guide, I cried to you for help, and you restored my health. You brought me up from the grave, O Lord. You kept me from falling into the pit of death. Sing to the Lord, all you godly ones. Praise his holy name. For his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes with the morning. When I was prosperous, I said, nothing can stop me now, and this was me. I lived in a prosperous state for quite a while. But then you turned away from me, and I was shattered. I cried out to you, O Lord, I begged the Lord for mercy, saying, what will you gain if I die? If I sink into the grave, can my dust praise you? Can it tell of your faithfulness? Hear me, Lord, and have mercy on me. Help me, O Lord. You have turned my mourning into joyful dancing. You have taken away my clothes of mourning and clothed me with joy, that I might sing praises to you and not be silent. O Lord, my God, I will give you thanks forever. And this is why I tell my story, because if God can do this for me, I know he can do it for you. I've been very broken and in very hard places, but God has always, always come and found me.